Well, the biggest Xbox news of the past decade has just dropped, and this could signal massive changes that affect both me and also you. As always, my name is Fletcher, and this is Xbox Nation. I won't blabber on too much, but let's just dive right into it. In case you missed it, Microsoft has now officially confirmed that Phil Spencer is going to be retiring from his role as CEO of Microsoft Gaming, and while retirement itself isn't really unusual, the timing and of course the surrounding leadership changes makes this one of the most important turning points Xbox has faced in recent years. This isn't just about Phil Spencer stepping away from his role. This is about who's going to be replacing him, who else is going to be leaving, and what kind of future that Xbox is moving toward next. And when you look at all of those pieces together, it really becomes clear that Xbox isn't just going to be replacing a CEO. Xbox is actually going to be entering a completely new era entirely, and I'm a bit 50-50 about where this future's heading. According to reports across the web at this point, Phil Spencer has actually been working on his replacement for just over 6 months behind the scenes, preparing for his ultimate transition and ensuring that leadership could change hands without disrupting the ongoing projects, of course. This kind of handover period is kind of typical within larger corporations. I've even seen it firsthand with my sort of previous job roles, but it's also been confirmed that Microsoft has been planning the shift for quite some time at this point. Don't be too scared though, Phil will be remaining in an advisory role temporarily, but the key point here is that he's no longer going to be the person making those final decisions. That responsibility now belongs to someone entirely new, and that new someone is called Asha Sharma. Like me, no, you're probably going to be wondering who the hell she is. I'll give you a very brief rundown, but essentially Asha Sharma is now the CEO of Microsoft Gaming, and her background immediately kind of tells me something very important about Microsoft priorities moving forward with the Xbox brand. Before this role, she actually served as president of product development over at Microsoft's core AI division, which means her primary focus was not on console gaming, not on game development, and not traditional platform competition. Her expertise instead was in artificial intelligence, infrastructure, and scaling digital platforms to reach global audiences. She also previously worked in senior leadership roles over at Meta and also Instacart. I don't really know what Instacart is, but hey, both companies focused heavily on platform growth, user scalability, and long-term service expansion. And this does kind of matter in some instances where Xbox is wanting to go with their trajectory, but at the same time, that AI thing is going, please, no more. I do have to say that leadership background often does reflect leadership priorities. Phil Spencer came within Xbox, of course. He was a gamer through and through, and that really did show with the different showcases, the in-person appearances. Xbox and Phil Spencer were synonymous together, really. Asha Sharma instead comes from platform and AI leadership. That's going to be a fundamental shift and kind of gives us an idea of where Microsoft's head's at with the Xbox brand. Still, if you have a look, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella really reinforced this directly in his statement, emphasizing Asha's experience in building platforms that scale to billions of users, and then highlighting the importance of growth and accessibility within the Xbox's future. This really does align perfectly with Microsoft's broader strategy over the past several years, which we've been seeing. That's been the increasingly focused expansion on Xbox beyond the traditional consoles, and of course into cloud gaming, PC integration, subscription services like Game Pass, and even going towards competing platforms. In other words, Xbox is no longer going to be a console platform as we know it. I know there were some statements from Asha obviously stating that Xbox consoles are obviously going to be a priority. However, her next kind of sentence within that paragraph kind of contradicts that. For me though, Xbox is now becoming a service platform, and this leadership change reflects that direction in its entirety. I really think that Xbox is going to route down to Steam. They want to be that platform that you're going to see absolutely everywhere. We've been seeing that shift, and now we're going to be seeing that in action. Of course, as I really did briefly mention, Sarah Bond is also going to be leaving Microsoft entirely, and this part of the story is arguably just as significant as Phil leaving. Of course, as many of you know, Sarah Bond has become one of Xbox's most important executives. She played a major role in Xbox hardware planning, obviously the business strategy as well, and the Activision Blizzard acquisition process. She was kind of the spearhead of that. She was also widely seen as one of the central figures in Xbox's future leadership, and many like me expected her to remain with the company very long term. Her departure does remove another experienced team leader from Xbox's executive team, and if you think about it, when multiple senior leaders do leave at the same time, it almost always signals a broader internal restructuring. This isn't just one person retiring, this is going to be a leadership change across the board, and we're just going to have to see how it pans out, to be honest. At the same time, Matt Booty has also been promoted to Executive Vice President and Chief Content Officer, which significantly expands its influence within Xbox leadership. I know, cue the signs of moans and groans. Personally, I'm a bit 50-50 about Matt Booty, but hey, he's now going to be overseeing content across Microsoft Gaming and reports directly to Asher Sharma. It's going to be really interesting to see how that goes. Obviously, there was a lot of mismanagement with the teams, with Perfect Dark being cancelled, alongside my most anticipated game, which was Everwild, and it's a bit strange seeing him being moved up. But hey, the proof is in the pudding at the end of the day, and Microsoft wouldn't have put him in that position if they didn't think he had certain leadership qualities. This move, though, really does ensure that someone with direct experience managing Xbox game studios does kind of remain in a central leadership position. It does provide continuity while the broader leadership structure really does evolve. This balance between new leadership and internal continuity does kind of suggest that Microsoft is trying to modernize its leadership without completely disrupting its existing development structure. It's going to be really interesting to see how it pays out. I'm kind of a bit more optimistic than a lot of other people out there. I really like the fact we're going to have new leadership and it's going to change up the structure quite a lot. But like I said, the proof's in the pudding. We haven't seen this new leader yet. We don't know what's going to be happening. We've had Phil Spencer for so many years, and I think it's a shame that we're going to write her off so quickly. But I do understand the qualms, especially around that AI tag, of course. With anything though, leadership decisions at any level don't just affect internal operations. They will of course affect the platform strategy going forward. They do affect the hardware decisions we see as well, and they ultimately will affect the game distribution that we see. I think it's quite safe to say that this is going to really affect how Xbox will be competing moving forward. Like I said, a CEO with a background in platform scalability and AI may prioritize expanding Xbox's reach across devices rather than focusing solely on those traditional console competition aspects, and I think many of us will be a little bit disappointed by the news. It doesn't mean that the Xbox consoles are going to disappear at all, as she actually did reiterate that consoles are going to be a main focal point, but it does mean that consoles may become just one part of that larger ecosystem. I don't think we're going to be moving away from this whole "this is an Xbox" campaign. Obviously, Microsoft has already been moving towards that direction. The leadership change kind of just reinforces that trajectory. For good or bad, we'll just have to wait and see. Ultimately though, in his farewell statement, Phil kind of expressed confidence in the leadership transition, saying that he believes the new leadership team will continue supporting Xbox's communities and then strengthening the platform's future. That confidence does suggest that his transition was carefully planned and not reactive. We did hear that he actually did plan this about 6 months to a year ago, so it's good to see that he had that chat with Satya at the time, and ultimately this was a planned shift. It wasn't forced, it wasn't strategic at all. It is just simply Phil Spencer retiring. This day was ultimately gonna come, and we just have to see it through. Of course, with the person who's now taken up that CEO mantle, we have no idea how she's going to fare in this role. We've just got to wait and see. To round it all up though, you have to think, nearly 10 years later, Phil Spencer was the constant figure that did guide Xbox through recovery, its expansion, and ultimately its transformation, providing so much stability during one of the most uncertain periods in the brand's ultimate history. Now, for the first time in over a decade, Xbox will be moving forward under completely new leadership, and that leadership will be responsible for deciding how Xbox evolves in an industry that is rapidly changing. The foundation Phil leaves behind is ultimately significant, but the foundations don't undermine the outcomes. Ultimately, I really do think leadership does. The decisions made over the next few years will determine whether Xbox strengthens its position as a platform, expands that reach successfully of course, or evolves into something completely different that we haven't actually seen yet. Like I said, I'm very 50-50 on this one. I think it's a positive outreach. A lot of us have been asking for a change in leadership ever since we saw stuff like Tango Gameworks being shut down with Hi-Fi Rush. That was a big blunder for the platform, and we've been seeing it time and time again. Ultimately, I think these changes are going to be good for Xbox. It's going to bring some fresh ideas to the table, and hopefully some good ones for all of us who are actively within this Xbox ecosystem. One positive which I can take away from Asher at the moment is exactly what she's been saying, especially to us all in the Xbox audience so far. Obviously, she's stating that she wants to continue focusing on consoles, she wants to expand it, she wants to ultimately focus on the games, which is always a good thing as well. And she even put out a statement recently basically saying that she doesn't want AI slop to be on Xbox and doesn't want AI really to be involved that much, just due to the fact that games are actually made by people. It's always a human bit of art as well, which is always lovely to hear, and hopefully that means we won't be seeing a lot of AI input into our games. Of course, you all have to take that with a grain of salt. These are executives at the end of the day, they are suits, so we're never going to be able to trust them, but at least we're getting some sort of firm answer from the top already, and it looks very, very positive in the near future at least. Obviously, it's completely different in the fact that we're not just seeing one executive leave, we are seeing a couple leave who had some really high profile sort of notable titles, but at the same time the new leadership could bring us in some more ideas that could ultimately change Xbox and put it in a good stead for once. We are going to see this Xbox is dead moniker absolutely everywhere yet again. I totally expect it, and I totally expect that many of you will be a bit skeptical about this new future, especially surrounding the fact that she was in an AI role previously. Like I said, it's going to be really interesting. I do have some optimism, but hey, if they do start bringing AI, I'm really not going to be happy either. But ultimately, Phil's going to be leaving. It's a really big signal shift. It's really saddening as well. Like, I grew up with Phil being the head of Xbox for so many years. Like many of you, he's been the only focal point I've always kind of known, and it's going to be real sad to see him leave. And he was a gamer through and through. The fact that we've seen him on so many games actually playing it, we've seen people interacting with him in Fallout 76 for instance, it's been great seeing that as part of the gaming community. In the meantime though, I do want to hear from you. How do you feel about Xbox? How do you feel about this new CEO? And what are your plans about the Xbox ecosystem moving forward? Are you going to stick with it? Are you going to leave? Ultimately, it does all surround you and how you feel about it. Let me know down below and smash that like button while down there. If you do want to check out some more amazing Xbox content though, do check out the video on screen now. As of yesterday, I actually just covered the 15 brand new open world games coming to Xbox and also Game Pass in 2026, and there's some cracking games here you definitely want to check out.